So this is the story of Perahu Ajaib. And Perahu Ajaib, it's a story from Indonesia, from Sulawesi, from the Toraja people. And it's also a story about a flying boat. So here's a summary of the story. This one is a little bit longer. There was a princess called Bosu, and she lived cloistered, and she was beautiful, and she was, of course, at the age of thinking of getting married, or at least, or maybe her parents are thinking of marrying her off, and so she's so not sequestered, but she's cloistered. She stays in her house and home all the time. And there's a prince who lives far away from there, and he's of marrying age, and he's looking for a bride, and he hears of this girl, and he decides that he wants to see her. So he comes to the house where she lives in the middle of the night, climbs on top of the house, goes on the roof, and then there's a place where he can see down below where she's sleeping. And so he spies her. He looks at her, and he falls completely and madly in love with this beautiful vision. And as he is so enthralled, his kris, Kris, K-R-I-S, it's a knife. It's a traditional knife that men have in many places in Indonesia. So his kris falls. He drops it. And as it turns, it falls, it comes to be planted directly in the chest of Princess Bosu, killing her. Well, the next day, he goes to see the parents and the family of the girl, of the princess, and admits to having killed her, and apologizes and says that he's at their mercy. The family basically forgives him and is kind of embarrassed, doesn't know, because he's a prince, a famous prince, and a high-ranking person and so forth, and they don't know exactly what to do with the situation. So the prince asks the family if they would allow him to take the corpse. And so he takes the corpse, and also to furnish him with a boat. So the family furnishes him with a boat, and they find this odd, but they go along, and they put the corpse on the boat, and then off he sails with her. And then for 7 nights and for 7 days, he's going to fast and pray. Fast and pray. After 7 days, she miraculously comes back to life. And she wonders where she is. And he explains. He says exactly what happened and describes his role and so forth into the sad circumstances. As he's explaining, she falls in love with him. She finds him just the greatest guy, so honest, so true, and so on. And so he falls in love with her, and he's in love with her. She falls in love with him, and they're quite happy. He hasn't eaten in 7 days. She's been dead for 7 days. So they kind of decide that it's time to stop the boat. They've been going around along rivers, and there's some rice fields and forests and jungle and so forth. So they stop the boat, and they're far away from their home, both of them. And he's going to go out and hunt and get some food and bring back some food. And she's going to have a mandi. A mandi is a bath in the river, so as Indonesians do. And as he's away, she goes to the bath, and there's a couple of local guys who kind of see her taking her bath in the water, and are of course quite impressed with her beauty and so forth. They run back to their king and tell her of this girl that they saw, and was beautiful and so forth. And the king, of course, decides that he wants a new bride, and he already has 10 or more. And he's old, he's ugly, he's got all the women he wants. He's a dangerous man. He kills people for no reason. Everyone is scared of him, and he's got a flying boat. And he's going to go and kidnap this girl, and actually doesn't have to kidnap, just has to threaten her, or he can threaten to kill her parents if it's necessary. No big deal. So he goes and kidnaps the girl, and then she's going to stay with him now for a few weeks. And then, of course, the prince is back there, comes back with some food, and can't find his bride, and he starts looking for her. Okay, so the girl is going to be married now with the king. The princess Bosu is not happy about this. She's told by the other women around her that she's going to go on a ride on a flying boat, a magical flying boat. And so she says, and this is interesting, she says, I'd like to see this boat. And so they bring her to the boat. And as she's looking at the boat, she notices something round, a small object that's very bright. And it looks like a round piece of glass, and it's just under the boat. So when no one's looking, she takes this round object and hides it into her clothes, and says nothing, and then off she goes. The next day, she's going to get married, and she's going to go on the boat ride, and I think first it's the boat ride. So the king says, I'm going to take you on the boat ride, and this will, of course, you'll see, you'll fall in love with me during this boat ride, and you'll marry me, and that's how it works. And that's what she was told as well. But the king tries to make the boat lift or move and cannot, and realizes the boat is broken, doesn't understand what's going on, so he offers a prize to whoever is able to fix the boat. In comes the prince, La Manjurai. Prince La Manjurai, he's the one, the Chris he killed, and he was looking for the girl. Now he is suddenly face to face with the king, and he says, "I'll fix your boat." And what's interesting in this story is this cooperation. So between the princess and the prince. So the princess kind of winks at the prince, and then they go off into the boat. She takes the round magical sphere and uses that to make the boat fly and lift away, and off they go and say goodbye to the bad king, the dangerous monster king that was there. End of story. So now we're going to talk about motifs.